I doubt that could survive in Barbados. That is why this matters beyond personalities. Because it cheapens the democratic discourse and it undermines institutional process. And it replaces evidence with innuendos. But you know what they say about opposition parties? They say that strong oppositions scrutinize power and weak opposition exploit process. Ask yourself, is the opposition scrutinizing the power or is it exploiting the process? If you want to know if an opposition is really effective, look at whether they are scrutinizing power or they are exploiting the process. And by exploitation of the process, it also means exploiting the ignorance of the people. Because raising that statutory declaration in that setting was not courageous politics. It was a calculated gamble that perception would outweigh proof. That's plain to the gallery. And in a democracy governed by the rule of law, that is not just bad form. It is profoundly dangerous. And the media in Jamaica is an abysmal failure to not have pointed this out the very next day. Because in the debate review, there were some saying Golden won. I'm coming back. So seems like I'm flying solo. So let's wrap this up. Let's call it what it was. Let's call it what it was. To drag uncertified reports into the leadership debate was nothing more than a desperate attempt to injure the Prime Minister's reputation. Did it? Well, it may have. The elections were 35-28. It wasn't dragged there to prove wrongdoing, not to advance policy, but to plant doubt. That's law. You know, lawyers are very good at that, you know. Just plant doubts in the juror's mind, and they can't come with a guilty verdict. Plant doubt in the minds of the Jamaican people, and they don't vote overwhelmingly for the Jamaica Labour Party. And the thing is that when you lack a compelling alternative vision, you reach for character damage. And that is exactly what happened. Who in this chat can tell me, coming out of the 2025 general elections, what were the main alternative vision that the opposition was offering? What were they? Can you remember anything? What did you remember from the PNP's campaign? Can you post it from the chat? What you remember? Time come. You remember that? And one by one, them going to jail. I remember that. What else you remember? Do you remember any alternative policy? What was the PNP's plan for crime? Mr. Crawford, you're listening. What was the plan for education, health, infrastructure, paying down the debt? You know, I've been trying to follow the Barbados elections. And there's a reason why I'm trying to follow it, because I want to see how Barbados conduct themselves in elections versus us here in Jamaica. You remember Blood and Fire? Yeah? When you lack, and that is why I'm saying to my team here on Politics Plus, my moderator, are you there?
Yes, neighbor.
Thank you. I'm saying to my team, Harry, Scratchy, don't mind the critic. Because when you lack a compelling vision, you reach for character damage. They cannot take on the show, so they are going for character. No man produced like us, sit down and write notes like us, so that people can listen. When you lack a vision, you reach for character damage. So when you cannot bring us down using your own stuff, then you start to go in the dirt. And that is exactly what happened. The aim was simple. Cloud the Prime Minister's standing, weaken public confidence, and shift the election conversation away from performance and result. Brilliant, but wicked. It is a brilliant, what is the word? psychological, philosophical. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Here is the uncomfortable truth. It may have partly succeeded, you know. That is the uncomfortable truth, that it may have partially succeeded. The election outcome was 35-28. And that tells another story. A reduced margin, a closer context, a country more divided than before. That narrowing did not happen in a vacuum. When allegations are aired without legal conclusion, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick. Even if nothing is ultimately proven, some damage will always stick. If you spread rumors on people, some people believe it. Yes. If people start spreading rumors on you, some people are going to believe it, even if nothing is ultimately proven. This is why this tactic was so reckless. Because it sacrifices fairness for short-term political gain. It gambled with institutions to score points, and it taught the electorate that suspicion is as good as evidence. Hello, Perry. I saw you can dance, man. You know, I saw you can dance. Perry, I have something here with you dancing, you know. Glad to see me back, but we never gone away. Hey, Perry, I didn't leave anywhere. I saw you dancing on this, man. Hey, Perry, I see you can dance, man. I didn't know that you were a big dancer. I'm not gonna show my listeners you dancing there, Mr. Perry. Oh boy, you're funny. By the way, I want to talk to you about your music career one of these days. I want to talk to you about your music career. I do. You have a nice little song there, Perry, but you have a line in there that you could do a little bit of work on. What the song say? What the song say? Boy. Yeah, it's a nice song you have out there, man. My brother. My brother Perry in Christ. Big up yourself. Anyway, the election outcome, 35-28, tells its own story. A reduced margin, a closer contest, a country divided. That narrowing did not happen in a vacuum, you know. Because when allegations are aired without legal conclusions, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick. Even if nothing is ultimately proven. You know that, Mr. Perry. I've heard many things about you, and some people believe. And maybe you have heard things about me, and some people believe. That's why your leader, Mr. Perry, was reckless when he went on the debate stage and raised the matter of the Prime Minister's statutory deduction. It sacrificed fairness for short-term political gain. It gambled with institutions to score points. And it taught the electorate that suspicion is as good as evidence. I'm wrapping this up. If the opposition believes that was a victory, it is a hollow one. Because weakening trust in the Prime Minister by abusing process does not strengthen democracy. It weakens it. Elections should be won on ideas, leadership, and record, not on half-formed accusations timed for maximum political harm. If the opposition believes that by gaining 28 seats, by weakening trust in the Prime Minister, that it strengthened democracy, they are wrong. They weakened it. Because now democracy in Jamaica is as weak as ever, not stronger. You don't look at the parliament and say, oh, we have a strong democracy. Democracies are held together by institutions, trust in institutions. And so what the opposition did by the process by which they gained those seats were they partially destroyed Jamaica. You may shift the numbers on the scoreboard, but you lowered the standard of the politics. Your numbers look better, but the standard of the politics is low. It's like a man thief, rob from the poor to make his bank account look better. But in doing so, he has caused many to suffer. The scammers. And that is what I want you to understand. And therefore, let me go to Harry. Good evening, Harry.
Evening, neighbor. Evening, neighbor, right?
How are you, man?
I'm doing good, neighbor. Doing good.
Harry, the Gleaner on Sunday wrote that the Prime Minister has to formally write to the Financial Investigations Division requesting an update on a probe connected to his still uncertified statutory declarations. Are you with me, Harry?
Neighbor.
Now, the question, Harry, is not that the Prime Minister is above scrutiny. But the nearly year has elapsed and the country is left in a state of limbo. Don't you think it is time for this matter to be brought to a close, Harry?
But the truth about the matter is that it shouldn't have been prolonged in any matter, right? Because this is a head of state in which you are, I want to say, strategically looking to impede him in many ways. You are pretty much sabotaging his character, his integrity, when you delay something of this sort, knowing very well what the results were of the investigation. And the thing about it is that should have been something done expeditiously.
Yes.
Especially with the fact that you know an election is coming.
Yes.
That alone should have let you fast track any leader of any party that are participating in an election. Failure to do so from my end is actually a failure of that institution's leadership.
Yes.
And as such, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is trying to almost put down or put in a bad light a leader and a potential prime minister, because of course when the election calls, they're just two party leaders now. So both are vying for the position again. And it doesn't matter who at the time are the party leaders, you should ensure that something of this nature, sensitive nature, something that can also swing the tides. And it doesn't matter what anybody say about it, it's not being able to swing a tide. It can. Because you're now putting one person in the limelight of being discredited when it comes on to their character. It's almost like an assassination attempt on one leader compared to the other.
Would you not agree? Would you not agree? Hold on there, Harry. Would you not agree that this has profound reputational and political consequences? That's what you're pointing out.
It does. A great deal. Because what you're doing now is putting up, knowing very well, because you know the results. The public doesn't know the results. And we're going to the polls. We're going to cast our ballots with uncertainty over a next potential prime minister. And that in itself, for me, has to be intentionally done. Because I can't see from my understanding as to after the investigation was completed, what could be the possible holdup or delays. Because from my understanding, the investigation is the hardest, most tedious and longest part of the process, which was completed before the election. So why prolong the announcement to the public? These public will vote on every and any issues that arise. In politics, people may see a lot of things as fair game because, of course, not everybody is statesman-like. And then you can't also think that the public will operate in a statesman-like situation. They will run with anything they hear until proven otherwise. And if you as an institution have this information, it is well within your capacity to ensure that the public is informed of their then prime minister and no potential prime minister in the election, which none of that was done. And for me personally, neighbor, I don't take lightly to things of this nature. So for me, somebody would have to leave before they're fired. That is technically my stance, because you
wonder when that is going to be. I wonder when that is going to happen. Let me move you on quickly, Harry. The opposition has weaponized these reports to pursue the prime minister in a way that is not just unfair, but unprecedented in its recklessness. Let's start with the basic. wouldn't you say that Integrity Commission reports are not findings of guilt?
No, because the thing about it, neighbor, is that depends on what the findings are, right? People will have their verdict on it. And if the correct information is not put out, then you can't discredit what people think of the partial information that they know.
Yes.
And as such, without the full thing, any person of influence and power can twist it. And of course, we know how influence goes.
Yeah. Do you know, Harry, that there are bloggers online that raise this matter every day, that the Prime Minister's reports are not certified? Can the Prime Minister certify his reports?
He can't, neighbor. Then that wouldn't be a part of our democracy. And also it would be a fault in institutions that should be independent to uphold the
then why
legitimacy.
Are they being branded, bandished about, and in public discourse isn't this to undermine the legitimacy of the Prime Minister? What else could it be?
That is the assassination attempt, neighbor. Because remember, he's the vocal point and he is that tower that they're afraid of. And as such, they want to nip away at him to see his reaction, to get a reaction from him, because any reaction from Mr. Holness, people will see it their way and they'll run with another news. So they'll have another piece of evidence that they want to call it and twist it their way. But they've failed to get that reaction, and as such, they're now still sticking with the very thing they would have gone through the campaign with.
Yeah, the Prime Minister seems very anxious to get this over with. He has written to the FID to get an update as to what is happening. Very unfortunate, Harry, that the Prime Minister is being dragged about like this and can't put this behind him. It's just so unfair.
I think for him, neighbor, he just wants to get it. I think he has a little bit of time on his hands now, based on where we are with the Melissa recovery. So he didn't pay it that much time because, of course, he's putting the people first, people-centric. And as such, himself being discredited and his character fall under assassination was never a priority for him in that state. And as such, I think that has also shown a different side of him, that he chose the people even when he's being taken apart or attempts to take him apart. But now that he can look at it now and say, hey, listen, we need to put this to bed. It is done and dusted. The election is over. And we know the truth. There's no findings. There are no wrongdoings, no potential anything. Get this out of the way because you know the truth, and let's move on.
Eventually,
yeah. You think that the party can do anything more to support the Prime Minister in this?
I don't think the party has really done anything to support him of that magnitude that we can say is a great impact. We haven't seen much of a real pushback compared to the force that they've gone up against. I mean, party for party wise, right? We don't see that level of, going out on the forefront and being aggressive in defending. And this is one of the things why I said the party needs to protect Mr. Holness, and they're failing as it stands right now. And yes, it could be a strategy that he will take it on, like Superman with that big S on his chest. But I don't think you should allow your best weapon to be fighting menial battles. You need to nip it in the bud because it's actually the People's National Party going after him and not overall the opposition. I mean, they're very skillful in separating themselves in certain arguments, if you'll see. Right? Because Mr. Golding will tell us, it's the leader of the People's National Party speaking, not the opposition leader. Those semantics kind of thing. And as such, the Jamaica Labour Party has to now put their foot down and take a stance, because you cannot allow this to continue, which will tarnish Mr. Holness's legacy. And it has been a stir in the public, because nobody really has been focusing on the fact that he's written to the FID
Yes.
Nobody, because that doesn't make the big news. You realize it went in the printed media, not in the big mass media where it's in the news. You're hearing it reported 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or news at noon. It doesn't. It was a scribbled somewhere in the Gleaner in a column. We all know Jamaicans don't read.
Yes.
Right? And as such, they can get away with it to say, oh, but it was published. No. I'm seeing headlines easily, whether it is on these printed media, social media, and so on. We see other ridiculous news that should even make news, are big headlines. Why is this not on the same magnitude? And this is something George Davis has pointed out, I think a few weeks ago, almost 2 months ago, saying the same situation with crime. Everything was put in cartoon, set up and all of that, run with it when crime was out of hand, right? Cussing, pretty much bashing government and so on. But now that it is lower, we're not getting even 5% of that same effort to say good achievement. And it's the same thing that this media has been strategically doing, and very few people call them out, if much people call them out on it at all. And that's why I maintain we have a failed journalism society in Jamaica.
Yes, very good. Let me take you a little bit deeper in. During the national debate, Harry, the opposition leader raised the Prime Minister's statutory declaration during the debate, knowing fully well that the related Integrity Commission reports were uncertified and unresolved. Was this not improper? And why was it not pointed out by the journalists there?
So for one, the journalists went there with an agenda almost, for me, this is my perspective, I saw one leader being fed simple questions, and I saw another one being interrogated. Because based on the nature of the questions and the double down, now I know personally that any government that is in power should and will face harder questions. It is known. But the questions weren't about governance. They were about his integrity and character, and they doubled down. One of the journalists even went as far as to use his follow-up questions to re-image and to restate a question that was asked before, just to get another reaction. So it shows that the media came out and they wanted to run with something specific, which was in alignment with the failed state of the FID not publishing the correct information and the Integrity Commission not publishing the right information for Mr. Holness, right? And at no point in time.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. At no point in time, any fact checking was done. And this is one of the reasons why I think the People's National Party object to specific journalists, right? Who are actual good journalists, because they're there to get the truth and give you the facts. They objected to them actually coming there and asking questions. In fact, George Davis was one of the persons red taped. That's why he was only able to host and keep on saying time. That was the best they could have done. So it looks as if they aren't partisan. But the truth is, we've seen Miss Diane Jackson Miller, who is a senior journalist, failed with her questions, right? And that shows you that if she's at the helm, basically, well, she was the most senior journalist there, and she was terrible with questioning. It was all along the same lines that was in alignment with the opposition. And for journalism, you cannot do that. Your job is to get the truth out and to also find out how these leaders are planning to govern the country, not continuously asking about one man's character and one man proving that he's Jamaican or not.
Yeah, well, let's be practical about this, Harry. Isn't it true that once a prime minister is publicly branded using documents that have not been lawfully concluded, the damage is done?
It is, because now
the facts eventually show that the damage is done. And when the leader of the opposition does that on a political platform, that would damage the reputation of the Prime Minister.
Of course, neighbor, because here's the thing, for the opposition, or in this case, let me say the challenger, to publicly, on the biggest stage of any election, right?
Yes.
Because this is a national debate, which is seen right across the region and the globe, to be bold enough to run with information of this nature. Nobody will look at it to say he couldn't dare be lying. And as such, people will run with it like gospel. And now, with the truth being hush-hush under the quiet and nobody coming out to fight it to say no, nobody even calling out immediately right there, which is why I think for the national debate, there should be an automatic fact check. And if you are wrong, you have to publicly apologize before we ask another question. But we'll probably never ever see that.
Absolutely.
And this is what happens. Nobody believes that Mr. Golding would be so barefaced to be telling the nation, the region, the diaspora, and the world a massive lie.
Yeah.
And as such, people will run with it. And then when the truth comes, it is easy for them to question the truth now, to say, no, I'm going to go cook up something. So you've placed so much of a doubt in people's mind that you didn't even come back at almost on the same stage to correct it. Instead, you're doing it.
But I haven't heard anyone except us on Politics Plus correcting this to this point.
Because nobody, neighbor, is one, bold enough, two, informed enough, and three, in a sense, they don't have the cojones to do it, neighbor, because we aren't aligned to anybody. And as such, we can and we will continue to speak the truth and give the people the facts. Let them decide wherever.
So you are saying that once that is done on that stage, the damage is done.
It is. And in order to correct it, neighbor, it is on the same stage, if not bigger stage, the same person have to come and take accountability for misleading and misinforming the people, which we will never see.
Wow.
Because I believe if you criticize somebody publicly and you're wrong, right? Or you accuse them, right? And you are wrong. I don't think you should go and apologize to that person in private. You did it in a specific medium. You did it on a specific stage. That is the same magnitude you have to and the same energy you have to come with and take your accountability. But in Jamaica, we don't practice that.
Yeah, but then how do we, Harry, allow alternative prime minister to go up on a stage and use uncertified material in a national debate to cast doubt on a sitting prime minister? How do we allow that to happen?
You know what they will say,
journalists allow that to happen? How does the country allow? How does the party allow that to happen? Why did the party not call a press conference the following morning to point this out?
I think for the party, neighbor, they have the strategy of saying it will blow over and the truth will come to the forefront. But you can't wait until that happens. In fact, you're going into an election. You want to ensure that anything that is said that is not accurate, you debunk it and you do it immediately. You don't let it even get a second to circulate. You're on it in a flash. Right? You can't sit by and say, yes, you're doing work elsewhere and all that. No, you attack what the public sees and knows. And that is what, because what I've seen, the neighbor, and I had to correct it even where I work. A lot of people was mentioning these things. And I'm saying, listen, no, you should be smart enough to pick sense out of nonsense. And I had to dial back a few documentations and say, read this and then come back and tell me what you understand. And then when I play the clip of what is being said, they then realize the dishonesty that was being displayed.
Yes.
But they didn't believe that was so in the interim. And as such, in these debates, everybody thinks it's a win. It has to be a win-win thing. No, a debate should put forward the plans of whichever team and or leader has for the country. And then you can decide who has the better plans.
In other words, uncertified declarations have nothing to do on that stage.
Neighbor, the moment he presented it, it should have been debunked. It should have not even, as he mentions it, we should have had the media taking a immediate break and they cut that from it and stop it there. You don't let it reach the public. In fact, you don't let it reach the public and another question is being asked about it.
Well, you're a sensible man. Hold on there for me, sir. You are the brightest on. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Moderator, give us a break, no? Do you have any announcement, moderator? We're coming back to that. Uh, 16 minutes to 11. Help us, moderator.
Hi, neighbor.
How are we looking?
Neighbor, I'm asking 10 of our listeners to donate $20 each to Zelle or Cash App.
All right. 15 to 11. What a fantastic discussion we're having here tonight. You don't get this anywhere else on media in Jamaica, you know. The Politics Plus podcast is on 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, Monday to Friday. And we have the resident analyst, Harry, breaking things down for us. After the notes, Scratchy is on a little break. He lost his father yesterday. He'll be back tomorrow. So we are asking you to jump on the Zelle account now. Let me see if I can. 954-635-8732 or the Cash App, which is in the chat. Look there in the chat. Now you're going to see that coming up. And you've got 4 minutes to make that happen. We're bringing back Harry shortly. All right, so please remember also to follow the Politics Plus 2 page. Follow the Politics Plus 2 page. That's the page right beside me. And share the Politics Plus podcast with as much people as you can. Help us to build back stronger and stay longer. Stay with us. We're getting back to the very, very important subject where the Prime Minister has written to the FID to get an update on this investigation. Wow. The Zelle account, for those of you who are looking for it, is 954-635-8732. understand that 800 people, 800 people are following us tonight. Imagine that. 800. Just got a little report here that the numbers tonight are staggering in terms of people listening. People are very interested in what we're saying. Many people are wondering if they can get a copy of the tape. Moderator, put a price on the tape. Can't give it out for free. Now, 876-858-9553 is the WhatsApp number. Moderator?
Yes, neighbor.
I understand that the numbers are staggering on the other end. Staggering. That everybody who knows somebody in Jamaica has asked them to tune into the podcast tonight. This subject is generating a lot of attention, a lot of listeners.
Well, neighbor, we're inviting them to join the live and to follow us.
My understanding is that the entire top brass of the party is interested in listening. Well, welcome to you all. This is the Politics Plus podcast with Hello Neighbor Caroline, Harry, and Scratchy. Let us introduce ourselves to you. We're the top political podcasters in Jamaica. Your neighbor is in Jamaica. Harry, he's in Jamaica too. Caroline is in Florida and Scratchy is in Canada. Together, we do a show between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, Mondays to Fridays. We come on sometimes on a Saturday, and we're here 4 o'clock on a Sunday, okay? And we talk politics. Politics, yeah. You're welcome to join us and log on. Follow the Politics Plus 2 page and tune in every night at 7 o'clock. We're here with you. We want to thank our listeners. They are the ones that sponsor the programs. Right as we speak, we are asking our listeners to help us to cover tonight's program. 8 minutes to 11 o'clock. We're going with you until midnight. Another hour and 8 minutes left on the program. We're doing a long shift tonight, because we were here at 5 o'clock and we left at 7 and we came back at 9. You like that, listeners? Well, you're going to have to keep us going until 12. Harry to fall asleep. He's a strong man, young. I'm an old man. I shall have to depart to my bed within a short. Anyway, let's go back in. Harry, are you there?
I'm here, neighbor.
Fantastic. What we've been saying, Harry, is that the damage was done when that was brought up on the platform, and it should not have been allowed. That's what you're saying.
Exactly, neighbor. It shouldn't. And it is not just up to, and I want to let it clear, it's not just up to the party to have ensured that this didn't happen. Yes. Before it even came to the party's level, it should have not happened if the FID had done their job before the election. It should have not happened if journalists were embodying the art of journalism and the media house, which is separate from journalists, should have also ensured that this was not aired by them. And then it comes down as well to even I think it's the debate commission.
Yes.
They themselves should have not allowed this to even go any further. In fact, even if the debate commission actually let this went through, they themselves should have had a fact-checked period. So they've also failed the Jamaican people, right? I mean, they've also failed in setting it up for the deaf, dumb, and blind community for a period. And as such, it showed shortcomings long before it came to the party's level. And
Yes.
nobody wants to take that accountability to say
Is it
failed.
that we are civic illiterate, Harry? No disrespect, but how is it that these matters are allowed to just go unresolved, unchecked? We just move on. Like, is it that we are so civic illiterate? Don't know that these things are wrong? This is an uncertified document. It cannot be used to ask any question from. It is being done across Jamaican. People are killing out them teeth over it. This is wrong.
Well, you see the thing, neighbor. Is it those who enabled? Because if you didn't stop it, you're an enabler. If you tolerate it, you enabled it, right? Because anything you don't accept, neighbor, you outright let it be known that you refuse it. And none of that was happened, or none of that was done by any of these institutions put in place to ensure we had a free, fair, and factual election. That's one. Two, this is still a part of our democratic process. And this is, for me, an undermining of that said process, because all these institutions have the job to ensure that they give the electorates the accurate, factual information to think about, to meditate on, and then make their vote. Failing to do this is basic thing. Failing to do the basic of your job, of your sworn duty, has also now put the democratic process at risk, because now you have people who trust the media, who trust the debate commission, who trust the journalists to ensure that they're giving them the right information so they can act upon. Because the truth is, most, if not majority of Jamaicans will not either have the time and or resources to dig deep and find the truth of this nature. In fact, to find the truth of this, you probably would need a couple days which average Jamaican don't have. And when you put those days aside, you have to figure out where it starts, understand the Constitution, and see what is what. We both know, neighbor, that Jamaicans don't understand the governance of a country. They don't understand the Constitution as they should. And that in itself, they're depending on these institutions to give them the right information. And when those institutions fail, they're failing the people as the people fail themselves in that regard.
Yeah. I'm still going to go a little deeper with you, Harry, but there are some people who are arguing that this is the worst injustice done to a prime minister in Jamaica. Would you agree with them? Do you think they have a point?
I think it's one of the most lethal thing that can happen to a prime minister in this magnitude. Because what you're doing is not just placing doubts. You're quoting from an uncertified document, which the public doesn't know it's uncertified because they don't go about finding this information. And you have now weaponized said document that is by law cannot be used as evidence in the court.
Yes.
Which means it should not have been brought forward whatsoever. And for those people out there who say it all is fair in politics, no. You don't assassinate a man's character. You don't go after a man's integrity in this manner. If you do have the facts, then that is fair. You can point that out. But when you're now going to pick pieces of information and strategically mislead and misinform 3 million people or 1.7 million, which are electorates to vote on the voters list, you have now, for me, automatically remove yourself as an alternative leader in my book, because you've proven to me that you will go to the ends width of misleading the nation to get power, and I don't want that person to lead me. Because if you can do that now, what can you do when you actually have the right power?
Yeah, and therefore, Harry, if uncertified, note the word uncertified report, because they have not been certified. If uncertified reports can be used to delegitimize a prime minister on a national stage, then every future prime minister becomes vulnerable to rumor elevated to accusations. Actually, this is not democracy strengthened. This is democracy distorted.
It is, neighbor. It is at the highest level at that, right? Because if it can be done with so many, I want to use the words watchdog of this process. That is what the debate commissioner, the printed media and the journalists, the neighbor, down to the very lawyers who are for these parties, institutions as well, have failed the people. And even if, let's say this happened, because everything is live, let's say it happened, why not address it the day after? Why have all these snippets running on these very media with these things and stirring up, in fact, adding to the misinformation of the nation? For me, there should be something in line of these things.
Yes.
Because what we're looking at now, and we can't say mistakes don't happen, but you're this huge corporation. It should not happen. You should face whatever consequences it is. And to see this happen, and it's almost like, oh, it is nothing, it will blow over. No, you've just equipped the opposition to a fight against the prime minister, which you very well know is illegal. It has no basis, no legal basis to come up anywhere. And as such, you should have nipped it in the bud when you realized what was happening. And for me, it lays on a lot of these institutions, mostly these so-called journalists, and I'm calling them so-called because I didn't see one sensible journalist there with proper questioning.
Better half
right?
A bit of half with them. A bit of half with.
and I'm laying it at the civil groups as well. I'm laying it. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. But by the way, Harry, when you lack compelling vision, then you reach after people's character. You know, people who can't debate tend to cuss, you know.
Yeah, a loud noise and
yeah. Yeah. And that is exactly what happened. The aim was simple, Harry. Cloud the Prime Minister standing to weaken public confidence and shift the election conversation away from performance and result. And here is the uncomfortable truth, Harry. It may have partially succeeded.
I would say it not even partially, neighbor. Right? I think when we look at it, it still placed doubts in a lot of Jamaican mind. Right? I
hope that as they told me that the party is listening, because this 35-28 result is probably related to this, you know, Harry.
It could easily, neighbor. In fact, it's not even so much a 35-28. I'm looking at the potential voters, not seats.
Oh, you mean those who didn't even show to vote?
Those who didn't go vote, because if I was going to vote for Andrew Holness and Jamaica Labour Party and his integrity and character is in questioning, then I'm just not going to vote. And as such, that 3% is what? 3% decrease. We can do the math, and that's a significant amount of persons who didn't vote. Because, neighbor, when we looked at the potential numbers going forward, And I would have said the Jamaica Labour Party, from what I've seen, have actually gained over the last 2 decades of elections significant ground in terms of persons who comes out to vote for them.
Yes.
This election was a slowdown based on that trajectory. And this very well could be because Mr. Holness was being questioned. And what makes it worse, in a neighbor, is that it wasn't just that Mark Golding said what he said and got away with it. The journalists doubled down, which in people's mind, so much people can't tell lie on one man.
Absolutely. So you had it on the political platform. The bloggers are doing it, and it comes on the debate stage from the leader, and the journalists are doubling down on it. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Harry, the narrowing did not happen in a vacuum, Harry. When allegations are aired without legal conclusions, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick, even if nothing is ultimately proven, Harry. Damage done.
Neighbor, some damage will be irreversible, right? Because the worst thing you can do is put doubt into people's minds. Even if you come with the facts, they will doubt that facts after. And in fact, you have a time frame to produce the truth before those allegations and those lies seep deeper.
Yes.
Because look at it this way. Edward Seaga is the most demonized prime minister in the history of Jamaica thus far.
Yes.
The things that are said about him, to this very day, there is still people in his generation that runs with it, despite being debunked, yes, despite giving the facts and the truth. And as such, it is no different because the time has elapsed for you to correct it. So you have a time to nip it in the bud. You have just enough time to give people enough to think about both the doubt and the truth. And then there's time elapsed, which means it has already taken root in the minds of people. And that is something you can't remove no matter how hard you try. Because they will always, in fact, because of how many high-profile people, journalists, institutions, and so on, have doubled down on this, it leaves the people to question, why would so many institutions, they have integrity too, why would all of them come and say, this is so? This one document, regardless of where it's coming from, still doesn't remove that doubt in my mind as a person. And that is how the average Jamaican thinks. So no matter what, even when Mr. Holness's certification comes through, people will still put the doubt because the damage has already been done. And it will take years before it's being removed, if it is ever being removed.
Very, very good. Very, very good. And Harry, hold on there for me. Let me go to a couple of the callers. Moderator, I understand that the call list is very, very long. Can you put them up for me? Let me see what they have. We have Harry with us. Andrew Bell, you're first. Go ahead, sir. Hello, Mr. Bell. Open your microphone. All right. So Harry, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the political result, therefore, saw a narrowing, and we're suggesting that narrowing did not happen in a vacuum, because when allegations are aired without legal conclusions, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick. And this is why this tactic was so reckless, Harry. But then there are some people who argue that if the opposition believes that this was a victory, it was a hollow one, because weakening trust in the Prime Minister by abusing process does not strengthen democracy, it weakens it. Now, speak therefore, Harry, to the democracy as far as its strength is. So what you have is a strengthened parliament in a weakened democracy.
Of course it is, neighbor, because of the medium and strategy in which was employed to get there actually weakened our one system that we have, which is democracy. And what I mean by that is the institutions, the process, the procedures, the lawful things that you can do in an election campaign and in an election mode was thwarted. It was weaponized. It misaligned with the very purpose. And also, you have now diminished the trust of the very people who are the strength of this democracy. Because the truth is, if the people doesn't exercise their right in the democratic process, then it weakens more and more. For example, Mr. Golden stated that this is a minority government.
Yes.
Truth is, if this is a minority government, he is a minority opposition. But he will not accept that because, of course, he's 400,000 strong, right? And what you do and what it takes for you to get that quote-unquote power, because I think 28 seats let him think it is more powerful. But they know what they've done. They know all the tricks that they've pulled out. I mean, one person was bold enough to come and apologize, which is Mr. Dayton Campbell, right? Which I think him doing that, regardless of what undermining and underhand thing is happening with him for political power in the future, it shows that he has more, I would want to say, forthright. He has more gall, a little brazen to do it, but that is more than what the opposition leader has. And that says something about the overall process that they took and route that they took to try and get victory in this election. And I know they will say they gained 14 more seats and they're now 28 strong and all of that, but you're still the opposition. And the people didn't really see you as a viable opposition in the process if you did it the right way. And for those people who think there's not a right way in politics, there is. Because politics and an election does not happen without laws and regulation. Now, because Mr. Golding and his team understands these laws and have people institutionalized strategically over years, decades, they're able to not just bend the rules, because you have to understand them to bend them, right? But they broke the very laws. They utilize and weaponize the laws in such a way where the very people who does not understand their civic right and does not understand the full process are easily misled. And so much so that they have not realized that it is a diminishing of the social fabric and construct of their own democratic process and their own democratic right that is being etched away, being nibbled against. Because what is going to happen, they're going to continue to do this as much as possible. So they're like a kid. A kid will push the boundaries until they're disciplined or caught. And if there's no repercussions for that, they will continue to push the said boundaries a little further. And that is exactly what was displayed in the last election, more so than any other election in the 2000s, right? Because we've seen poor elections, but this one was extremely poor. In fact, it's one of the worst in our history. There is, because of how
in terms of ideas
they went about it, right? Because this election wasn't about well, for the Andrew Holness administration, it was about performance, right? For the opposition, it wasn't about providing an alternative perspective and strategies and policies for the people. Because the truth about that, it didn't hold water. Whatever they put in the manifesto couldn't hold up. People may say I'm being biased. All right, for example, I'm still waiting to know how they would have funded the 3.5 million for the threshold. The same opposition that fought it to bring it at just over 1 mil, they fought it at 1.5, they fought it at 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, and all of a sudden wanted to go to 3.5 and couldn't tell us. The great mathematician that Mr. Crawford is could not have given us the figure.
Is he really?
Well, he's the best mathematician they have, right? And he couldn't give us how it would have been funded. In fact, they were hoping on the backs of the said 1% growth, approximately, the economy had at the time. They were putting everything on that 1% growth to say they'll move it forward, but no real way to how it will accomplish it. And in fact, that was their biggest thing running. And they couldn't do the simple calculation to realize that, hey, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And it shows that.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry. In the 13 minutes that we have left, you know, Harry, I got a feeling that never before has a sitting prime minister been subject to such sustained political assault. The elections are over, Harry. And every single day online, on social media, they are attacking the prime minister. And the attacks are not built on any court rulings or proven misconduct, but on a process that is still in motion. Harry, when is the society going to respect the rule of law? When is the society going to observe that a man is to be presumed innocent? When is the society going to be fair? When? Why are we like this, sir? This is dangerous, you know. Because it erodes confidence in institutions, Harry. It confuses investigations with guilt, and it teaches the public that perception matters more than proof. We can't condemn people on perceptions, Harry.
It's a cultural development around the political arena, neighbor, where we've put every politician to say they have done something wrong or they must do something wrong, or it's just a matter of time before we caught them in doing wrongdoings. That is a nature that has been developed for quite a while. And as such, it is one of the very few nations in this world that forces you to prove innocence rather than guilt.
Yes.
Because in the court of law, you prove guilt
Harry.
and not innocence. And I think people in Jamaica now who presume, you know, those person who think they know everything and have all that.
People condemn you on an allegation in Jamaica, you know, sir. On an allegation.
Yeah.
People will condemn you on, and you know, people will condemn you on an allegation. Nobody's testing to find out, is it true? Nobody's waiting to find out, did you do it? The minute they hear it, they accept it as facts. That is the society we're living in.
Everybody, every person is judge, jury, and executioner. That's how they see themselves when they don't have the information. In fact, they're not even attempting to try and find the truth, you know. If I saw it, if we hear it, it must go so or something go so. It can't all be lies. When the truth is, we've seen it. I mean, John has put it forward, the tenets of propaganda. We saw it. We know what is happening. But because the very institutions that should be holding up this process, neighbor, who should be fair, factual, and truthful, have failed the people, and the people with no true direction of knowing how to get this information for themselves and deciphering it, because that is the most important part. The comprehension of what is communicated, no matter how small it is on the people, and they themselves don't have that. And we see the critical thinking levels and the emotional intelligence levels of Jamaicans are very low. In fact, it's probably at an all-time high compared to where our educational level is. Yeah. And this is what is now hurting the process.
Yeah. So whilst the PNP may have shifted numbers on the scoreboard, They have lowered the standard of politics, Harry. The standard of politics in Jamaica right now is very, very low. Very, very low, Harry. Yes?
It is. It is. Because when you look at
and I fear, Harry, that it may get even worse. Which is why a program like this, Harry, will have to survive all the attacks that we have come under. We will have to survive, because I must tell you, the discourse is at a low stage, very, very low.
And this is what I spoke about, neighbor. I just spoke in terms of the government sense, where where leadership, governance, and management is, the bar has been placed at a high level, or certainly higher than it was before. But the same is true about in the reverse for the political arena. One party is looking to raise the standard. The other is looking to ensure that the standard doesn't move. In fact, they want the standard to go to hell, so they have a say. They want to still be viable, not by improving and being better, but by reducing the understanding of the process for the people, by also demonizing any potential leaders that are out there, and as such bring it to a ground level, neighbor, where they may seem as if they're equal to or above, which is not what Jamaican people should be accepting. So we may not be accepting poor governance again, but it also comes with how we get to that governing party or that governing administration. Because before you get the good governance and the high standard, you have to ensure that the political process is held even higher. That way you can get the best that is available to lead you into good governance.
Yes. I don't think we have time to cover the Joyland Silvera reportedly pleaded guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter in connection with the death of his wife, Melissa Silvera. I wanted to point out to the listeners the political implications of this. I think we probably will have to run on that tomorrow. But a very interesting development in that case, Harry.
It is, neighbor. I've looked into just a few parts of it, because this it's a plea deal, really.
Yes.
Right? Just out of thin air simply means a few things, and just one of them I'll share. The prosecution may have too strong of a evidence that they may have, taunted around a little without showing their hand. And as such, the defense, who is crumbling a little, may not be able to withstand that potential evidence coming forward, because they themselves don't know what is coming, and they also don't think they have enough to stand up to what is coming. So
would I be correct? Would I be correct that it is likely that the prosecution will accept the plea, that this would be some negotiating taking place behind the scene?
It will. They'll more likely do it for a civic way, for what they want to call more civilized aspect. But I'd love for it to should have, well, for me personally, I would have wanted it to go to trial under the full course. That my tax out, that for me would have been taxpayers' money well spent.
Yes.
Because I don't think we can do it for other accused and not somebody of this profile.
The thing though, many are attaching the politics to this. Any serious violent crime involving a former parliamentarian raises questions, though, Harry, about judgment, leadership, and the political culture. There is a sense in which the opposition, not personally, but it looks bad on them.
Of course it will, neighbor. You can't, because he's a high profile person in the party, you can't
a former member of parliament.
Right. At that level, serving more than one time.
To now be admitting to have committed manslaughter is significant in our culture and our history.
It is, and I think him being quote unquote made an example, and this is why I said I wanted to go to full trial and not just accept a deal, is that it would strengthen our judiciary process. And I think people will now believe in that process more. Here's why. In Jamaica, there's a thing that there's one law for the poor man and one for the rich. And this going to the full extent of a trial and the outcome being the outcome I anticipate it to be, would have almost reinstated it to the average man that, hey, it's no longer one law for poor man and one for rich man. The playing field has now slowly being leveled, and as such, we can trust the process again. That is a statement for me, if it had gone the full trial, would have made. And I think it's a bold statement to have been made.
The whole matter of any injury though to the reputation of the PNP, do you see this case hurting them in any way? Would you think that this is a personal matter for Mr. Silveira, or do you think his association with the PNP will in any way affect perception of the party?
Well, I can't tell you this, neighbor, because both parties are judged separately, right?
Yes.
They will do enough, including the media, because I'm not leaving them out of this. They'll do enough to kind of segue and move Mr. Silveira political affiliations out of the limelight. They will
how can
want
you do that when he's a former member of parliament of the party?
What they'll do is look at the time frame in which this has been going on and how long he was there before this evidence came up. And it's
so the optics, you don't think the optics are damaging?
It will have some impact on it. But what will happen, neighbor, that's why I said this is really two outcomes for two separate parties. Because I can tell you, had this happened to the Jamaica Labour Party, we wouldn't be hearing low vibrations about it. It would front page, left, right, and center. Right?
You're saying that that the PNP tend to be judged lesser on these matters like this?
They aren't judged by the same standards, neighbor. We've seen it on all levels, right? In fact, look at the alleged thing with George Wright, all right?
Yes.
And look at what the Women's Right for the People's National Party, they came out in numbers, want to organize march and everything. But then the shoe fit on the opposite foot for them, and they went missing. There's no media covering it at that level, all of that. So we see how, in fact, the People's National Party get a slap on the wrist because of how institutionalized their members are. Because, I mean, we know they have people in specific areas. It will take some time to remove those people, because I don't, for one, have a problem with the institutions that they head. I have a problem with the management of the institutions, right? That they have infiltrated and corrupted. That is my problem with it. And as such, they will always find a way to kind of brush it under the carpet until we're ready to clean house. Because I can tell them, this matter won't go down in history lightly, because it's going to resurface at a time when it will hurt them the most.
There's a bit of sadness in discussing this, Harry, because this woman, wow, I tell you, it's a very sad case. Harry, this is it's a couple, and the man is now coming out to say, I know about it. I mean, would you like to help us with the definition of the difference between manslaughter and murder itself?
Oh, it went out a little there for my neighbor. Could you repeat?
The manslaughter. What does that mean versus admitting to murder? Manslaughter is premeditated, right?
Right. So really, the crime of to be politically correct and because of TikTok, analyzing someone neighbor without quote unquote malice, right?
Right.
Which is almost what they want to claim, not amounting to murder, which is almost like technically a lighter aspect
Yes.
to murder, right?
You did not intend to do it. You didn't intend to do it. It's like you're driving down the road and you hit someone, someone
by
run across
accident
and you hit them.
Right. Well, of course, murder itself has a premeditated aspect to it in the very definition of it, right? And it's an unlawful premeditation. Right.
Very technical there. And as you said, because of the community guidelines, we are watching our language here. But I don't see how. Anyway, I probably it's gonna be tough to see how manslaughter is accepted here, because the fact of the matter is that the woman lost her life by. But anyway, it could be said that there was an accident or the gun. No, don't even know what to say. I'm so careful.
Went off and you know.
Right. All of that, and that it was an accident. But we will pick up some of this tomorrow, Harry. Thank you so much.
And definitely, neighbor, definitely. And I think because I was out for a little while. I don't think we covered the press conference thing regarding the health ministry.
No, not at all. And I really want to delve into Mrs. Birchall's response to the PNP's, to the question about the PNP's money. So I think probably tomorrow.
Definitely, Neva, because
then we have Parliament. Then we have Parliament.
I think some of these things will come in Parliament, so we may have a cross-segment aspect of it. Because I really want to ask Ms. Birchall, why should we await the People's National Party audited financial statements to know what happened to the money?
Imagine such an answer. This afternoon I was asking who is training this lady to talk. I don't think she's making much sense at all.
But the tricky thing about it, neighbor, is that either it is Miss Birchall or Mr. Golding has muzzled Mr. Jackson, who is rather the leading person for the relief. But he has not been able to speak on this matter when he is the person tasked to lead it.
Yeah. Miss Birchall is saying that we have to wait on the PNP's audited. When are those going to come out, sir?
I don't remember if they do theirs by calendar year, or financial year, because we know there's two different things. So if it's a calendar year, it should have been due from the 15th of January. If it's the financial year, it would be ending of March going to April, about April 15th.
It's a fair question that journalists ask about the money that was collected on behalf of Jamaicans.
It's beyond fair, neighbor, because you can't be asking the government to show something that you aren't showing. Remember, you created this thing as if you are government yourself. We never know Jamaica have two governments.
There you go. And Miss Birchall is saying that we have to wait for the financial audit of the party. The money that you collect for the people, we must wait for the party audited financials. What can go so? By the way, go ahead.
It really doesn't look good. Because even Mr. Golding, he has said a few things, and I think I might double down on it. To point it to the technicalities of the people, because he was caught in two lies on one matter, neighbor. I don't want to say no because we don't have the time, but by his very admission, he was caught in two lies.
Boy, I tell you, And I heard the finance minister today saying that the country should return to a debt to GDP of what? Of 60% in 5 years? Amazing, Harry.
Of course, but definitely.
And the IMF saying that we should be growing by about 3.5% in wait, I have to go and listen back to that.
I'd have to check. I think it's after 2027, I believe, which is in line with BOJ. But I want to give the people the exact
yes,
information.
She was on Nationwide this morning. Yeah. So we produce tomorrow for those, eh?
Definitely, neighbor.
All right, then, man. Have a great night.
Same to you, neighbor. Caroline, I'm not getting any giggles tonight.
Oh, dear.
Have a fantastic night, everybody. This is where we bring the curtains down on the program. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Moderator?
Yes, neighbor.
Thank you so much for the support behind the scenes. You took care of all the technical stuff and all the props and all the time management and all the research. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, neighbor. Have a great night. Have a great night, Harry. I'll see you all again tomorrow. Listeners, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Fantastic. Great.
Coming high now.